My name is Sophia Miller, I'm 28 years old, and I live in Charleston, South Carolina, where I coordinate restoration projects for historic hotels, places wealthy guests love to photograph but rarely notice closely. For 4 years, I hadn't had dinner with my parents in the same room. Not on Christmas, not on Thanksgiving, not even on my birthday. So when they finally agreed to visit me, I paid for everything without hesitation. 2 round-trip tickets, checked bags, airport transportation, even a rental car in case they wanted to explore. I cleaned my townhouse until it looked perfect, bought fresh flowers, cooked the pot roast my mother used to make and the lemon pie my father always loved. Every night for a week, I set the table for 4. Every night, the candles burned lower while my phone stayed silent. They were only 30 minutes away, staying at my sister Hannah Miller's house, laughing in pictures, holding her kids, enjoying wine on her porch, acting like this was a family vacation I just wasn't part of. On their last day, while the food sat untouched, my phone buzzed. My mother texted, "Maybe next time, sweetie." I stared at those words until something inside me went completely quiet, not broken, just quiet. Because by then, I had already opened my banking app and was looking at 4 years of payments they had never thanked me for. The first night they chose Hannah's house, I told myself not to overreact. People get tired after flights. Maybe they needed time. Maybe the kids were excited. I wrapped the food, cleaned up, and went to bed pretending the heaviness in my chest was just exhaustion. The next morning, I woke up early, made coffee, and sent a kind message inviting them for brunch. Hours passed. Then Hannah posted a photo of them at a waterfront restaurant with the caption, "Best surprise visit ever." My mother commented, "Wouldn't miss it for the world." I read that line again and again. Wouldn't miss it for the world, but she had missed me for 4 years. Later, I called my father and asked when they would come over. He hesitated, then said it might be difficult and it was easier to stay where they were. I reminded him I had brought them here to see me, but he replied casually that being in the same city meant they were already seeing me. That answer hurt more than any argument because he truly believed it was enough. That evening, I set the table again, not because I believed they would come, but because I needed to face the truth. 4 plates, 4 chairs, no one there. Then I opened my laptop and looked at everything I had done for them over the past 4 years. I had helped with their mortgage, paid for my mother's prescriptions, covered car repairs, and even supported Hannah's childcare more times than I could count. When I added everything, the total reached over $62,000. My hands went cold. Every time they called me independent, it hadn't been praise, it meant they didn't have to show up for me. That night, when my father texted "We'll try tomorrow," I replied okay, but inside I knew tomorrow would be the last day I waited. By the 4th day, the pattern was clear. I kept inviting them kindly, and they kept choosing somewhere else. Hannah's photos showed everything, family meals, outings, laughter, while I wasn't even included. My best friend Olivia Monroe came over that evening and saw the table still set. She looked at me and said softly, "This looks like a memorial." That was the moment something shifted inside me. I realized this wasn't love, it was habit, convenience, and imbalance. For years, I had been giving without limits, thinking it was my responsibility. But kindness without respect had turned into expectation. That night, I opened my laptop again, reviewed everything carefully, and made a decision. Not emotional, not angry, clear. I wrote a simple email to my parents explaining that I had paid for the trip because I believed they wanted to spend time with me, but their actions showed otherwise. I told them I respected their choice, and now I was making mine. I would no longer provide financial support or cover their expenses. I attached a record of everything I had done, not to hurt them, but to make the truth clear. Then I canceled every ongoing payment, mortgage support, prescriptions, childcare, subscriptions. Each cancellation felt less like revenge and more like lifting a weight I had been carrying for years. Within minutes, my phone filled with calls and messages. My mother was upset, my father was confused, and Hannah was angry. but for the first time I stayed calm. I explained that this wasn't about money, it was about respect. Being in the same city is not the same as showing up. Family is not about convenience, it's about presence. When they finally asked to come over, it was the last day. I said no. Not out of anger, but because I had already waited long enough. That evening, I went out with Olivia instead, sat at a table where someone actually showed up, and finished my meal while it was still warm. The next morning, they left without ever stepping inside my home. That used to feel like failure, but now it felt like clarity. After they returned, the reactions continued, messages, guilt, pressure, but I stayed consistent. Slowly, reality changed things. Without my support, they adjusted. My father took more work, my mother managed expenses better, and Hannah handled her own responsibilities. They weren't destroyed, they simply had to take responsibility for their own lives. Months later, something changed. My father sent a letter admitting he had mistaken my independence for not needing care. My mother, slowly, began to accept her mistakes too. When they visited again, it was different. They paid for their own trip, respected my time, and asked before making plans. When they came to my home, I set the table again, but this time for 3. We sat together, talked honestly, and for the first time in years, they stayed. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. My mother finally said, "I'm sorry we made you feel unimportant." I didn't pretend everything was fixed, I simply accepted the honesty. In the end, I learned something important. Family love can exist, but without respect, it becomes unhealthy. Parents have rights over their children, and children have rights over their parents too. Parents should give time, attention, and emotional support, not just expect help. Children should respect and care for their parents, but not lose themselves in the process. If parents make mistakes, children can speak up, but calmly and respectfully. And if children feel hurt, parents should listen instead of dismissing their feelings. Real family is built on balance, not convenience. Set boundaries before silence turns into distance. Value yourself enough that others learn how to value you. So ask yourself honestly, if people only notice your worth when you stop giving, would you open the door again, or leave it closed until they truly change?